I messed up tonight. I lost another fight. I still mess up, but I'll just start again. I keep falling down. I keep on hitting the ground. I always get enough to see what's next. Birds don't just fly, they fall down and get up. Nobody learns without getting it wrong. I won't give up, no I won't give in till I reach the end and then I'll start again. No I won't leave, I wanna try everything, I wanna try even though I could fail.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Zootopia Minute, the minute-by-minute podcast where we review and analyze everybody's favorite hit movie of 2016, Zootopia. My name is Simul, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host.
Choco, and I just want everyone to know I stand with Hong Kong.
Awesome. Well, we've got a lot to get to on this episode. This is minute 72 of the film Zootopia. So for those of you following along at home, that is going to be from timestamp 1:12:00 to 1:12:59. And this minute begins with a line from Judy, picking up from It Is Possible in response to a reporter's question. She says, "So we must be vigilant, and we at the ZPD are prepared and are here to protect you." She then gets hounded with questions by even more of the reporters and sort of tries to respond to them, but Bellwether notices, okay, maybe this is a time we should probably cut the press briefing. So she says, okay, that's enough questions for now, whisks Judy off the stage. Once off the stage, Judy goes over to talk to Nick, but Nick doesn't seem too happy with the things that Judy has said, and we'll go over those in more detail in a bit. The minute ends on Nick's line, "The kind that needs to be muzzled, the kind that makes you think you need to carry around fox repellent." And that's the final line of this minute. So looks like there's some trouble in paradise brewing for our dynamic duo of Nick and Judy.
There's trouble.
Yeah, there is. So we'll jump right into it. Let's take a look at some of this beginning dialogue here in a little more detail. So, remember, we're in the middle of a press briefing following the arrest of Mayor Lionheart now that they have figured out what has happened to all of the missing mammals. Hey, they got kidnapped by none other than the mayor and like a bunch of other shady organization people. So Judy's been giving this press conference, and in the previous minute, she kind of got off on the wrong foot saying that, hey, we think these animals going savage, we notice they're all predators, it could totally happen again, and it's something to do with their biology. Predators have come from a history of preying on other animals, so perhaps they're reverting to their old primitive savage ways. And you could see in the last minute, just from Nick's facial expression, that maybe this isn't sitting too well with him. So a reporter had just asked her, hey, could it happen again? She says it is possible, and here where this minute picks up, "So we must be vigilant, and we at the ZPD are prepared and are here to protect you." Now at this moment, you can kind of hear the crowd of reporters getting a little louder, getting kind of frantic, and they kind of jump into a lot of questions. Will more mammals go savage? What is being done to protect us? Have you considered a mandatory quarantine on predators? So Judy is kind of in over her head already very quickly, only having been on stage for like a minute and a half so far. Any initial thoughts?
I do want to say, especially when Bellwether comes up to the podium, it shows how small that podium is. So did they have a purposely built podium for small critters like those two?
I suppose so. But wasn't Bogo at the same podium?
Yeah.
Was he huge?
Which is kind of odd.
I don't know. I might have to go back and look if Bogo was just like towering over the thing in previous minutes whenever he was standing up there. I'm not sure. Let me see. Can I get a frame of that? Actually, I'm looking at the previous minute or not the previous minute, but when Bogo was on, and he looks normal sized and Judy looks kind of smaller. So I think they chose a nice medium sized podium as far as I can tell. She doesn't look too small and he doesn't look too large. That's the thing. Like, there's some cases in a city like this where you could do a one-size-fits-all approach and just choose a sort of medium-sized object, but there's certain applications where that won't work, right? And I think we discussed earlier that toilets are probably something a little more difficult. Like, if you're a very small mammal, like a rat or something, it's kind of hazardous to use a toilet where you could literally fall in and potentially go down the pipe. And we know animals can go down toilet pipes in this movie. That has already happened once.
So this is a scene that it takes the turn. This is the big turning point of the movie. Emotions change.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to point out that a lot of comments kind of stuck out. I'm not sure, like, it's very, like, satirical in a way that I don't think it was intending.
Do you mean in the way it's portraying like the media
So
or
one
the police
of the
department?
reporters say, "Have you considered a mandatory quarantine on predators?" And even in this heated day and age where we have a lot of biased media, fake news, yada yada, I don't think any reporter is going to say, "Is there going to be a mandatory quarantine on X group of people?"
I mean, it makes me think of, I forget her name, but the Channel 4 UK. So what you're saying is, you know, the Jordan Peterson interview where she's just like putting words in his mouth the entire time?
Yeah, but she's, okay, this reporter is outright saying, and it looks like this reporter sincerely wants some type of mandatory quarantine on predators.
Or, well, the way it's phrased right, have you considered a mandatory quarantine on predators? Meaning that even if she says it, it's not on her, right? She's just asking if they've considered it. You know, and pending their answer.
I think that's okay. So I think that line's just a little too on the nose and also unrealistic in a movie about all these animals living together in human society. But
it is sort of weird that they jump to it so quickly.
Yes.
But I think it goes to show, like, you know, if this is going to cause some sort of panic or anything, the media is completely complicit in this, right? Judy gave fairly minimal information. And again, as I've stated in the last minute, I do think she went too far and she said things that she had no reason to say. But still, the media isn't helping here because I've been thinking about this more and more. Journalism used to be about just reporting the facts. And I feel like lately it's shifted to be about telling you what opinion you should have. You know, if you look at websites like, I mean, there's a lot out there, but
which is why I've been liking the Canadian news stations that report on, you know, companies that are trying to scam people out of money and stuff. Those types of reports, because I like when I see a news clip that just focuses on a situation or story and then investigates it. It's like, oh, okay, those are like it's weird to see things that are start off neutral but have a specific thing and they're trying to get to it, as opposed to here's the story and let's shift it to fit our narrative.
Right.
Like I think most recently, at the time we're recording this episode, the Joker movie was released just a few days ago. And
there was a headline I saw that was like, 2 men arrested for smoking and causing a disturbance in a screening of The Joker. And it's like, okay, if that had happened for literally any other movie, it wouldn't have been news, right? Because the media is looking for problems with the Joker movie because everyone assumed, oh, it's going to inspire like a mass shooting or something.
Yeah, I think
so they're really
I sent you that
scraping
tweet.
the bottom of the barrel at that point.
And that's another example of how the media misreports, because the original shooting in Aurora during the Dark Knight Rises movie, they completely got that story wrong because the shooter was not even dressed like the Joker as the media is trying to portray it.
You mentioned that, but I never heard that reported. Literally, I never heard that reported. All I heard was like that there was a shooting. Yeah, I never heard anyone say he was dressed like the Joker.
I've heard the Aurora example being used in relation to the before the Joker movie got released here. Leading up, almost all the reports cited the Aurora shooting.
But the Joker didn't even play a huge role in that movie.
Yeah, well, they were saying that based on what I was seeing. That's why I purposely tried not to look at these articles. But they were saying that the shooter of the Aurora shooting was inspired by the Joker. That he was inspired by the Joker of, I guess, Heath Ledger's portrayal of the Joker in the movie, the Dark Knight movie previously before the one that was released. And that he was dressed like the shooter. But what happened was, I guess, the police officer who was on the scene just saw that the person had dyed orange hair and I guess didn't know too much about the Joker.
Yeah.
And then, assumed the wrong thing. And then the media instantly reported on there without fact-checking.
Joker doesn't even have orange hair. I mean,
I know. Well, I just been saying this is a good example of, like, I guess we're watching a movie now about fluffy animals and the media sensationalizing things and misreporting things, and we've seen this happen just this week, purposely trying to find something wrong with a movie, which apparently they're trying to make this movie seem to be something that alt-right incels would like, but in reality, the movie is actually apparently a communistic, against classism, socialist-leaning leftist dream. That's from what I heard. I haven't seen the movie yet, but it's
I haven't either.
But it's weird that
until I have.
Yeah, so it's weird that the media will twist things around. But anyways, let's get back to the movie. Let's get back to the cute fluffy animals.
That's much more pleasant. So yeah, all these questions. Will more animals go savage? What is being done to protect us? Have you considered a mandatory quarantine on predators? Lots of loaded questions, obviously. And at this point, Chief Bogo and Bellwether, camera pans over to them, and you can tell they're kind of looking a little concerned. So Bellwether goes up to sort of shut everything down, says, "Okay, thank you, Officer Hops. That's all the time we have. No more questions," and kind of waves the reporters away. And they step down, and Judy says, "Was I okay?" You know, because she's never done a press conference before. Bellwether says, "Oh, you did fine," and kind of brushes her off. Judy then walks over to Nick and begins with sort of a cheery voice saying, "Oh, that went so fast. I didn't even get a chance to mention you or say anything about how we..." And then Nick cuts her off and says, "Oh, I think you said plenty." And Judy's kind of like, "Huh? What do you mean?" "Clearly, there's a biological component. These predators may be reverting back to their primitive savage ways. Are you serious?" And then Judy says, "I just stated the facts of the case. I mean, it's not like a bunny could go savage." And this is the thing I was getting at last minute, because no, she did not just state the facts of the case. She stated assumptions based on things she overheard earlier when she was spying on the mayor and the honey badger lady. The whole DNA thing that she talks about is just based on something that she overheard. They didn't do an in-depth interview with that witness, or I guess, I don't know if you'd say a witness, suspect, whatever, right? The honey badger character. She's going beyond what I feel like a trained police officer should touch on. You know what I mean? Especially when it's this early on, there's so few facts. She went too far. And then when she follows up here and says, it's not like a bunny could go savage, that is also based on just this stuff that she overheard without looking deeper into it, you know? And it's like, how do you expect Nick to react?
Again, this is the issue I see with, I don't know what the specific term is. I think it's called transposition fiction, where you transpose one event or one idea with the metaphor for another event or an idea. And obviously, this movie is trying to represent various human issues and societal problems through the lens of this movie with different species. And it's not always a perfect fit. Like, her argument works in a human context depending on what you want to use it for, but then it just seems like they're trying to shove a oval peg into a circle.
Maybe.
That's what it seems like. It sounds like they're taking verbatim what they would assume someone in this situation would say and then try to fit it within the context of this movie, and I don't know. Like, I still love this movie, but again, watching it in detail and analyzing it, I'm just like, they could have been a little bit more subtle in that area, because it's just instantly it seems like she has her own built-in biases, which would make sense with her upbringing and upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. And also, I do want to point out the scene beforehand. I do like how Bellwether seemed so cheery and tried to sugarcoat it when she rushed her off the stage, and she was like, "Wait, something go wrong?" I was like, "No, you did fine. It's like one of those nice little nannies who sugarcoats things when you know that you have to."
Yeah, I don't know. They seem kind of cheery just to end it on that point, leaving everyone. I would almost think, okay, they cut Judy off, that's fine, but then maybe Bogo or Bellwether should have gone up to like clarify on what she was saying. So maybe it says something that they didn't do that. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the dialogue continues. So Judy says, "I mean, it's not like a bunny could go savage." And Nick responds, "Right, but a fox could, huh?" Judy says, "Nick, stop it. You're not like them." And then Nick says, "Oh, there's a them now." And this, I think, is like the most important line in this whole minute. You're not like one of them, and oh, there's a them now. Because it sort of touches on what some people have come to refer to as otherism, right? Where once you put people in a box, it's easy to kind of generalize that kind of behavior. And my friend Squiggly Dig, who we were trying to get on for this minute, and she might hopefully be on a future minute, what I think she would probably bring up, because she's brought this up, a post she made on Tumblr a long time ago, and I think this really encapsulates the whole thing well. Take an issue like this and translate it to, I don't know, real-world politics for a moment. It's common to have a lot of friends, maybe with viewpoints that are different from yours, right? And maybe you don't necessarily talk about politics all the time, or it's like a topic you avoid or something. people are very quick to either internally or on the internet make very sweeping, broad statements about the other side, quote unquote. And then maybe you'll rebut saying, hey, I consider myself part of that side, but I don't fit any of these stereotypes you're saying. And then they'll respond like, oh no, you're different. You're my friend. I know you're not like that. And what should occur to people at that time, but for some reason seems not to, is that if you can acknowledge that someone who's your friend and is a member of quote unquote the other side, but they're not like that, do you really think it's a good idea to assume even a majority of people on the other side are really like that? You know what I mean? You have one friend who's on the other side or whatever, and you say, oh, they're different, they're not like that. Do you really think that's such a coincidence? It's entirely more likely that you're just wrong about your assumptions. And I feel like that's something that more people need to get through their head, just because like the whole political situation in this country is very toxic right now. And if people just stop making generalizations, that would be a good first step to like actually solving problems. So I think Judy is being a very good example here of what not to do.
Oh, you're talking about demism.
What?
You're talking about demiism.
Demiism? What is that?
It's them and us against them.
Demiism? What do you mean? Where does that come from?
I'm making a joke!
I don't get it. Your joke is bad.
Okay, fine. What's happening? Oh, okay. Yeah, so when I was watching this scene again, because everyone knows Nick is like my boyfriend, essentially. In fact, he just joined me. He moved in with me a few days ago. I have Nick. He's standing right by me right now.
Yes, I saw.
Yeah. I'm sorry I'm making you jealous.
Nick.
I'm sorry I'm making you jealous, but yeah, he's the only fox for me. Anyways, watching this movie, I was just like, especially this scene, I was looking at it, I was like, oh no, Nick, you're getting angry. Don't get angry, Nick. Because it seemed like, you could see, like, Judy is very oblivious, and I think what you were
Judy's
talking
being
about
stupid.
earlier, utterism, like, especially when we're in a fandom as diverse as the fandoms and circles we're in, there are times when you might make a joke or say something that is completely innocuous to you, but might come off as rude, offensive, or supporting a contrary view that one of your friends don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you tweet something, for example, and you don't know, let's say to show support for the Hong Kong people, I tweeted a picture of a South Park character stepping on the PRC flag, for example, right? So for me, I'm specifically trying to make a point that I'm against the government of the PRC oppressing its people. But someone might identify the PRC flag as a flag of Chinese people in general.
Right, representing Chinese people as a whole.
Yeah, it might mistake what's happening. And you don't understand it, and you're interacting with them, and at first, you're like, oh, okay, they're just playing around, or they're joking, or they're in this way, and you don't realize, because you can't read emotions through text, that they're in a really aggressive mindset, and you didn't realize it until it got too far. And I was looking at this with Judy, because that's a very, very similar situation. Or, for example, if you accidentally, let's say you pissed off one of your friends and you didn't even know, and you came back and you're all casual and chill with them, and this friend is really seething and angry, but you just didn't notice it right away. It puts you into an awkward situation, and seeing Judy acting nonchalant, like, oh, I just got done with this crazy media about this case, and Nick is taking her words a completely different way and is very visibly upset about that. But Judy, because she's focused on something completely different, and obviously she did not grow up as a predator, so she wouldn't understand why these words might be hurtful to the predator, is completely oblivious to Nick's anger. And then when he just slowly lets out his anger and frustration, she's just like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just small potatoes, heritage, not hate. Stuff like that. It's just, it's like, and seeing Nick angry, I felt really sad, because it looks like a friendship was broken, and she's oblivious to it, and he is trying to get his point across why he's angry at her.
Yeah, it just doesn't occur to her that Nick might take it that way, because she hasn't ever considered it from that perspective, right? But I think my bottom line, like, for this kind of thing, I think it just is encapsulated so well in these lines, like, you're not like them. Judy created a them. That's what Nick says when he says, oh, there's a them now. One of the biggest, easiest ways to just make problems like this is to start putting people into boxes, into groups like that. But you can see, like, I want to go back to that point that Judy says there's a them, right? Predators. That's the category we're using. That's the box we're putting people into. But then turns around immediately and he says, Nick, you're not like them. You're not one of them. And I'm sure Judy really does feel that way, and she means that in a good way from her perspective. But it's the fact that what I think is frustrating for Nick is that Judy can't see past her own generalizations. She doesn't realize how broadly she's painting this brush, right? And Nick does see that. And so I just feel like that's how I would feel if you were talking to me like that. I'd be like, if you think why am I an exception, right? If you see me and you see that I'm not a bad person, why would you assume that everyone else in this group is a bad person or whatever?
Yeah, it's like all Metros are bad people, except you. You're the only good one.
I'm the best Metro. I'm the only good Metro, actually. Metro's, yeah. But I just feel like that's it. It's that Judy is blinding herself to her own willingness to make sweeping generalizations. And I feel like that's a lesson a lot of people could learn.
It's obviously ignorance. It's not, I think that's another point that it's hard for people to understand ignorance, not hate, because some people are actually ignorant because they were born in an isolated society or community like Judy was.
And ignorance kind of is this tainted word now where ignorance almost means hatefulness, the way people use it, but it doesn't. It just means you don't know. You just have a knowledge gap, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing inherently wrong with it. What's wrong with it is if you continue in it willfully without trying to expand your horizons.
Yeah. So let's just use a fictionalized case with the current People's Republic of China right now. So let's say the Chinese
Complete
had
fiction, not really happening.
I don't know how the government currently works, but let's say that someone in the western province of China for their election got to vote for a candidate, and this candidate's platform is all these things, but one point of the platform is the extradition laws in Hong Kong, right?
Right.
This person is a small,
started.
poor peasant farmer, and his only thing is concerned with his small farming community. That's all he knows. He doesn't know about stock markets or foreign trade or anything like that. All he knows is his farm, and he knows that this candidate is going to be really, really good for his farm. He doesn't know, and he doesn't understand why the Hong Kong people might be upset with this other policy that this person has. And for them, it's because it's just out of their view. It's out of their mindset. It's not something that's on top of their mind that they're going to see. And I see this a lot, especially with the last election, the last presidential election. On both sides, people were accused of voting for someone that they perceived as evil. And when the person tried to explain, no, I'm voting for this thing, and they said, well, what about this? It's like, oh, well, I haven't considered that, and it doesn't affect me.
These disparate groups of people are concerned with completely different things.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see that if you listen to like Democratic primary debates versus the Republican primary debates from 2016, the issues being discussed, like I don't even think I could name a single issue in common that gets brought up as a question. That's how like very much people are living in different worlds. So I mean, that's also part of the problem too, I think. But another way to think about it here before we move on, I guess, because we've been on this topic for a while, is you can kind of think of it as like an individualism versus a collectivism type thing, where Judy is willing to make this sweeping generalization about a collective group, predators, right? But she's doing that and completely ignoring her individual relationship with Nick as an individual and not letting that kind of inform her at all, right?
Yes.
She's too focused on groups. She's too focused on collectivism. And that's bound to cause problems, just like it does in America and in modern society, you know? So Judy then continues after this, you know what I mean? You're not that kind of predator. And again, that touches on all the stuff we've been discussing so far. But the minute ends then on Nick's line, the kind that needs to be muzzled, the kind that makes you think you need to carry around fox repellent. And he points to Judy's fox repellent, which she still has clipped on her side. She's been carrying it around for basically this whole movie since she left her hometown, without getting much mention up until now. But she has indeed been carrying that. So,
yeah,
you know, it must be interesting. Nick has been following around this whole time and evidently has noticed this and just hasn't commented on it. So
I mean, if you are someone who probably is a fox and notice someone, I think you would notice this stuff. It's like after I was mugged, I now notice every time someone passes me with like a concealed weapon or a knife just randomly on their belt, whether or not they they're a friend or not and they're going to use it on me, I just notice it a lot more.
Well, what's weird to me, it wouldn't be weird to me to notice that someone is carrying around some mace or a knife or a gun, even. What would be weird is if the mace said, like, black people repellent on it, you know? Because this stuff says fox repellent. Like, it's so specific. That's such a jarring thing to say. I realize how weird that sounds, but that's how you should think about it. It's specifically talking about a specific class of people, foxes. It's not even as broad as predator repellent. It's fox repellent specifically. Like, how many places can you get away with manufacturing something targeted?
It's like having
a group like that.
An Iowan repellent. Like, I don't like people from Iowa, so I have an Iowan repellent.
An Iowa repellent. Right, exactly. Or here we need California repellent up in Washington.
We Californians contribute the largest amount to the American economy, okay? Yep. We have a GDP 20 times larger than a former superpower, Russia.
Yeah, well...
Like, I live in Florida now, so whatever.
Mm-hmm. Turncoat.
It's expensive.
But anyway, I feel like that's worth pointing out. It must be odd to have a product targeted so specifically, like, use this on foxes. It's weird to word it the way I worded it, but it's basically the same thing as if you had a repellent saying this is a repellent to work against a specific race of people. Like, that's super weird.
Okay.
So, you know, I feel like that's relevant too, and that must have been like something in the back of Nick's mind this whole time. Like, what's really up with her? Like, is this going to be a problem later on, or who really knows? Yep, so that's the minute anyways, and we'll continue on with this next time. I definitely want to see kind of where this conversation continues to see what happens to Nick and Judy's relationship after this point, because it looks like they might be in a little bit of trouble. Oh well, we'll have to see.
Oh, so before we go, I do want to give shout outs to fans who write us nice letters and draw us fan art. And it's also very, very nice when you actually come up to Simul and I at cons and personally give us your artwork or fan letters. And recently at one of the conventions I was at a few weeks ago, I had... there was a fan who came up to my booth at Megaplex, and she gave us a very nice piece of fan art. I'll include it in the title card so you could see it. And she also wrote us a letter, which I'm going to read parts of for you. She says, "Dear Choco Pony and Simul, I have been a fan of your podcast, Zootopia Minute, for a while now. Personally, I've never been a fan of podcasts, but listening to your conversations about the movie, as well as real-life news and or experiences have helped me pass the time on my long car rides to and from work. I hope that once you finish Zootopia Minute podcast, you'll find a new movie to review. Perhaps you should do one that isn't as well known, like Treasure Planet. It would be amusing to hear you two review one of the original My Little Pony movies. I was wondering if you have considered having a guest fan on your podcast. It would be interesting to hear what they would have to say about the movie as well as your podcast. On that note, I'd like to take a jab at what Jesus's persona would be. Instead of a lion, Jesus would be a rabbit. Why else would we have rabbits on Easter? We're just celebrating his persona so that the kids would be interested in the holiday. Parentheses, I am not Catholic/Christians, but I was raised that way, close parentheses. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoy all of your conventions and don't get con crud and have fun new stories to tell on your next podcast. Choco, I would love to get something from you, but my bank account won't let me. Hopefully, in a year or so, next Anthrocon, I'll be able to get one of your flags. Simul, it'll be great to meet you in person. I think you should do Zootopia/Doctor Who cosplay at some point. It would be really neat to see. Your fan, PIF. P.S. Judy's cat light nose has always bothered me, but I understand why they designed her that way. So thank you for that nice letter and fan art.
Yeah, thank you very much. Always appreciate hearing from the fans. And thank you for the pictures as well. I saw them. They were very lovely. Really cool. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for listening. Okay, so there are a few questions in there, I think. Would we ever do another movie, like, under the same format as this podcast? We've been kind of saying that, like, we love doing this podcast, but it is quite a lot of work, and it takes a long time to get through. So I can't say we would probably pick it up with another movie, although Treasure Planet is an awesome movie. I haven't seen that movie in years. So I would have to probably
I will say that
the
Muppet Treasure Island, I think, is a superior Treasure Island movie. Just saying.
Wait, Treasure Island or Treasure Planet?
The Muppets did a Treasure.
No, what was in the letter?
It was Treasure Planet.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I was confused why you're saying Treasure Island.
Because it's the same story.
I know it's the same story. I'm just
Treasure
saying.
Planet is just Treasure Island in space.
I know, but you made me think I had misheard the letter, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Don't confuse me.
No, Simul and I have been chatting about this lately. We have very good conversations with each other in private. Like, whenever we're hanging out together in person or just randomly chatting with each other on Discord or even just messaging each other, we have really, really nice in-depth conversations. And I wanted to do a podcast with him for a while now. So the suggestion to do Zootopia Minute was a way to, because we didn't have an idea for what type of podcast we wanted to do. So to kind of get our feet wet, since I haven't done a podcast for about a year or two at that point, we thought, okay, we could use a nice podcast that has a steady structure that we could follow, and that will kind of warm us up to doing our own podcast. And I think we found that the structure, while it was good for us getting back into the podcasting game, it was also very, very restrictive and did not give much room for us to be as creative as we wanted to. So we think for our next future podcasts, it would be a lot more loose and not based off any specific structures. However, if you do like the specific format, the format was actually popularized by the Star Wars Minute podcast created by Alex Robinson and Pete the Retailer. And in fact, they have a website called Movies by the Minute that have all the different movies that are done in the similar style that we're doing Zootopia Minute in. So if there's a movie you like, most likely there's been a podcasting group that has already done that movie in the minute by minute format. In fact, we were talking about this right before the episode started, but we are actually doing this style in an unorthodox manner. Most of the other minute by minute shows, they actually record like 5 episodes at a time and release all 5 episodes in 1 week. Because we want to update all of you with certain news about Zootopia and Disney that comes up, we want to try to do our podcast weekly or bi-weekly so we could update you guys instead of doing it all at once, where if there was breaking news, we'd have to wait till the next group to talk about it in. But we were glad you enjoyed this format. We're not sure we're going to continue it, but if we do other podcasts, we do hope you follow us there for our future projects.
Yeah, for sure. And as far as the original MLP movies go, that would actually be something fun, maybe just to riff over, not as a podcast, but as some sort of commentary thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. That'd be fun.
Okay, I guess before we go, I do want to get some news out there. We have been invited as guests to Anthro Northwest. It's a furry convention in Seattle, Washington, so in Simo's hometown. Simo famously is not a furry, and he's never gone to a furry convention before.
That's true.
But since this Anthro Northwest takes place in his hometown, he has no excuse now. So we will be doing a live presentation of the Zootopia Minute podcast at Anthro Northwest. I believe it will be Saturday. I don't have the exact times right now, but I'm thinking it will be Saturday after 6 p.m. And right after our live panel, we will be watching the movie Zootopia. The movie Zootopia will be showing for everyone in the audience. So if you want to join us for the panel and then watch the movie Zootopia with us, and maybe, who knows, after the movie's over, we can hang out and talk if you want. We're happy to do a meet and greet with our fans. But if you want to find out more information about this, just follow our Twitter account. We'll post all the information there. And if you are going to go, let us know. We would like to see how many fans we're going to get there.
Yep, definitely be sure to check that out. Okay, well, I think we've rambled on long enough, so I think this is a good place to stop. That'll be it for this episode of Zootopia Minute. Thank you all so much for listening. If you did enjoy the podcast, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also follow us on Twitter at Zootopia Minute, as well as liking us on Facebook. That's always helpful to us. And if you have any comments on the show whatsoever, tell us what you like, what you didn't like, or just anything you want to comment on, things we may have talked about on the show, you can send those to zootopiaminute@gmail.com. And with that, we will bid you guys adieu for now. Thank you all so much for listening. We will see you next time.
Long live real China, down with fake China, liberate Hong Kong, woo!
Liberate Hong Kong.